Hi, it's Kim from Expressions of the Universe with something fun that I thought everybody may enjoy. It is explanation or presentation of different planetary birthdays in our astrology charts. Because I often take a look at, well, when is the moon going to be in Leo? Because I'm a Leo moon. I know that that time period is going to be highlighted for me for those few days. Similar to our solar return or the sun's return to the place we were born in our charts, which is called our birthday. So I thought that I would just show you the different times and places and meanings of, the different planets that are in our chart, the different astral bodies that show up and when you can expect them to show up and how to look for them outside of just your birthday. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you and just move this a little bit. So this is the planetary birthdays in your chart, also known as planetary returns, by me, Kim McGrath, expressionsoftheuniverse.com. So what are planetary birthdays? Known as planetary returns. This is when a transiting planet or object in our astrology charts returns to the exact place as it was at the time of our birth, which then conjuncts, or it's right next to, that same planet in our chart. Conjunctions are harmonious and lovely energy. They give us a personal boost. They are also a good indication of a time of change coming in our lives. It helps to be familiar with your birth or natal chart, the planetary placements, and the degrees. You can go to astro.com for a free chart. And I also have a video on how to pull your own birth chart from this website. And I will put that video at the end of this video so that you could just click on that, navigate to it easier. And if you have any problems or questions, you can always comment me and I will be happy to help you. So the moon moves so quickly. So we will have a moon birthday or a moon return at least once a month. It's 13 times a year, typically, because there are 13 lunar cycles in every year. The moon is the fastest planetary body, and we will experience an exact alignment to our personal natal moon at least once a month or once a month, and possibly 13 times per year. The lunar return shows your emotional state for that month and how you might respond to upcoming events. The easiest and best way to see month by month what sign and degree any planet or planetary body is in is to use an ephemeris. Here's a link to a complete list of many types of ephemerae for 9,000 years. If you have any confusion on which one you should use, you can message me, but it's pretty easy. I just click on the general ephemeris and I click on, say, 2022. That's when this video is being recorded. And then I can go month by month for a list of all of the planets, planetary bodies, and what sign they will be in. So it's important that you know the glyphs of those signs. And I guess I should have posted them here, but if you're watching this video, you're pretty familiar with your glyphs. And you can also use a search engine and just look up ephemeris. You can also Google or DuckDuckGo or, whatever search engine you're using, and just ask, what sign is the moon in? What sign is the sun in? What sign is Saturn in? Etc. So this is what an ephemeris looks like. Here's a good example. I am recording this in June of 2022. And it's just really, for example, this is a general ephemeris in that it just gives you the calendar, the day of the week, and the number that it is. And it will tell you the degrees, the degree that that planet is in, and also the sign. So, you know, we start the month out with the sun in Gemini and the moon in Gemini, and Mercury retrograde in Taurus. But we're focusing right now on the moon. So what's interesting is that me being a Leo moon, I saw that on my birthday, which was Saturday, June 4th, the sun was at 13 degrees of Gemini, which I'm a 13-degree Gemini, but my actual solar return occurred the day before at 10:30 at night. So even though your actual birthday is the day you were born, the solar return may be off a little bit because of leap years and the wobble of the earth. But I was also born under a Leo moon, and this is pretty rare that the moon would return to where I was born at the same time of my birthday, but actually it occurred the following day because I'm at the mid degrees of that sign. But you can just go down the list, and then it looks as though I could have swore that I saw that it was going to go back into Leo a second time for the month. So in this example, it says you could see the moon will transit through the sign of Gemini. Oh, the sign of Gemini twice. So if you're a Gemini moon, you'll start the month out with your moon birthday, and then you will also wrap up the month. So that's how you get 13 moons per year, because there will be 1 month where you will have 2 hits. That's pretty unusual as well. And in this example, you'll see that we entered June at 27 degrees of Gemini. That's where the moon was. And then, of course, it's not going to list all of the degrees. So you just have to assume that it's going to take up all of that space up until the time that it hits that next moon. And then again, on the 26th, it will enter at 0 degrees on the 26th, and it will stay there for the next 3 days before it moves into Cancer. So I just thought that that was pretty interesting for me to be able to show you on the ephemeris. And then while we're here, real quick, the sun, the moon, Mercury generally, Venus, and Mars move pretty quickly, but they do stay in the same sign for quite some time. So you'll see Venus enters this month of June in the sign of Taurus, her home sign, but then down here on the 24th of June, she will move into Gemini. That's another reason why I love ephemerises, because you could just look at that month and go down the list and see if the signs are going to be changing, if the planets are going to be changing signs. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and the nodes, and Chiron, and this is Black Moon Lilith, they pretty much stay in the same sign for very long periods of time, years sometimes, and they move very, very slowly. You'll see how these degrees just repeat. They're barely moving. I will explain that more in just a moment. So the cycles of the planets. I think these are great slides because when you are having that alignment, you want to know, well, what changes could be taking place? So, of course, your solar return, that's your birthday, and that occurs once every 365 days. And The sun's return can recharge your life's purpose and suggest the kind of events that lie ahead for the next year of your life. The Mercury return, like the solar return, it comes around once a year, and it focuses on how we might express ourselves, our communication patterns, opportunities to gain knowledge during that cycle. And this is where we're spending our mental energy for the year to come. The Venus return happens once a year, and that signifies new opportunities for relationships, both romantic and platonic. A Venus return can also represent how someone's love life, aesthetic, and finances may be affected during that cycle. So you really would have to look at the aspects and the angles to see what could possibly be going on. Just because you're having a return and it is conjuncting your natal planet, there may be other things going on around those planets that will create either more harmony or possibly more tension. And that is for another video. Mars return happens about every year and a half to 2 years because Mars is the planet of action and spontaneity. This kind of return explains the type of events someone may experience in the next 2 years. It's very fiery, it's creative, it's explosive, and it could be accident prone. Our passions are there, our motivations are there, and our driving forces are where the Mars is returning and the aspects that it's making. Jupiter return occurs once every 12 years, and that's pretty magical. With Jupiter being the planet of abundance, everything it touches seems to grow bigger. So this kind of return tends to bring major milestones that happen during this cycle, a new phase of growth and development in a person's life. The Saturn return, this is a little hairy. It occurs once every 28 to 29 and a half years. Saturn's return is a doozy for most, representing a new phase in the aging process and the maturation process. The first Saturn return occurs when a person starts to take adulting seriously. In this cycle, people become more mature, they take on responsibilities, and they learn tough lessons that make them stronger and wiser. The first Saturn return is often extremely difficult. And because that planet is very slow and it takes, nearly 30 years to come around, we feel those transits years before and years after. I explain that a little bit further. The old adage of famous people, rock stars mostly, many of them have passed around the age of 27. It seems to be some magical undoing number. And that's when Saturn is starting to approach that returning point, and life gets really intense, sometimes very overwhelming, and a lot of people don't make it. So that's why it's so scary. Now, the second Saturn return happens in a person's late 50s, 58 to 60. I'm getting ready for my second Saturn return, the time of midlife crisis. And I'm not going through a midlife crisis, but it has been often said that you really need to have your act together, your blank together by the time you hit your second Saturn return. Otherwise, any issues going on in your life are going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Hopefully, you have matured by the time you've hit that second Saturn return. You've healed a lot of past life wounds, current life wounds. You've allowed a lot of things to just roll off your back because you realize what is truly important in this life and what isn't. If you are still dwelling on drama and trauma, you will pretty much carry that with you for the remainder of your life. And then I don't have it listed here, but the third Saturn return comes around the age of close to 90. And you should have everything culminated by then. Chiron return. Now, this is a huge one. It occurs about every 50 years, and Chiron influences the various hurtful experiences that we encounter in life, and we bring those in from a past life and how we use them to help ourselves and others. These can be of physical, mental, emotional, or even financial nature, depending on the natal house placement. I do have other videos that talk about the various houses of the astrological chart and what those themes are, so you may want to go check that out in my Astrology 101 files. Uranus return once every 84 years, and some are very lucky to be going through that. And if you've made it that far, you can probably do whatever the heck you want at that point. I would think that revelations appear at this point in one's life. There should be a full culmination of knowledge and experience that the true meaning of life is then realized. Neptune return only occurs once every 165 years, and the Pluto return is once every 247 years. So you think, we're no longer living, so what does it matter about Neptune and Pluto? That doesn't mean that our charts ever stop making aspects. So even long after we have finished living in this physical plane, our charts are still acting out, and they can be seen in our legacy, in our children, in our families, in the work that we've left behind, and in our lineage that is to come. So our work and story that we left here on Earth never stops. And so interesting revelations come about. Secrets will come out when Neptune returns, and Pluto, that's where maybe something dies off or completely is transformed and is seen in a different way. I also would like to point out that the slower moving planets build and wane over the years of time, either leading up to or separating from the actual return, similar to what I talked about with Saturn. Saturn and Chiron are felt and experienced most boldly as they are approaching the exact return as well as the separation. These transits can take years to fully complete the return cycle. These two planets pack the biggest life lessons. We need time to allow the lessons to reveal themselves and work through them and heal those areas of our lives. Can you imagine if we looked at a calendar similar to our birthday and we say, oh my gosh, this is happening on this day, bam, and we're hit with something, some huge lesson, something that rips our hearts out. No, these planets and planetary bodies, they build up and they bring us possibly, difficult obstacles, difficult lessons that we have to overcome, so that when we hit that date, we are not blindsided unless you're not awake. And when we hit that date, we've hopefully worked through whatever came leading up to that. Now, we're also given the opportunity, as those planets pass away from that exact mark, sometimes they retrograde back over that spot to make sure that you got that lesson. Chiron does it a lot. Chiron will spend about 6 to 7 years in a sign. So there's a good chance when you have your Chiron return, it's starting around age 45-ish, 46, and it's moving over that spot, that place where you were born. It starts to leave and then it comes back. And then it starts to leave and it comes back. And it will do that over the course of, 6 or 7 years, because it's like just almost like it's slamming you saying, hey, did you get this? Because Chiron is really healing the heart chakra. It's healing those deep cellular wounds from a past life that we brought over here. And then we actualized in this physical reality. And that's part of one of our biggest lessons, in my belief, that we are here to clear that. And you will know what it is. So you really want to take a look at what sign is your Chiron in and what house is it in. And you can check out, my sign and house video that I have that will explain what each sign's theme is and what each house theme is, because those will be the concentration of the lessons. You may also want to look at the opposite end of where that is placed in your chart, because you'll have that polarity, that push and that pull. That will also be part of your lesson. Same with Saturn. All right, so another consideration, like I said, are the retrogrades. When the planet moves back over old ground, if we're having a return or a planetary birthday during a retrograde, we could experience a particular return 3 times. I believe it's more for Chiron because there's such a wide berth that you'll still feel that energy sometimes, during that 6 to 7 years. But on a Saturn return, it is very common to get hit 3 times in a very short span of time. It could be over 2 years. And then we also have to take into consideration the progression of our planets, or the solar arc of our planets, which will be left for another video. Take a look at older ephemerae or ephemerises and check out prominent dates in your life and see what was happening in the planets on those days. In summary, being aware of our planetary returns, we become more aware of how our lives are playing out, how they're running, and how we are responding to them. With awareness, we can choose to respond differently when we are being asked to change. I love that. And so thank you for watching. Please check out, I'll put up a subscribe, and I will put up the other videos on how you can pull your chart. I am at expressionsoftheuniverse.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, obviously YouTube. So thank you for spending this time with me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will be sure to help you out. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful planetary return.